Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today is November 22nd, 2024. You're listening and watching the Daily AI Show live. And as you might have seen on our splash screen there at the top, today we are talking about runways. Well, runway in general, but we're also talking about Act One, which came out just a few weeks ago and is a tool. We're going to go through and show it to you, but just as a highlight here, it's a tool that takes live video. So just like you're seeing me move right now, not with my hands, but if I'm just being really emotive with my face and moving left and right, it captures all those facial expressions as well as the audio that goes along with it. And based on a reference, a cartoon or like, anime type style or whatever the reference image is, and it will animate that image to make it look like that character or whatever you created is in fact saying it. So you could be a dragon, you could be a cat, you could be something more realistic looking. I could look like Jumi and do it as well. By the way, we do have Jumi, Andy, Carl, and I'm Brian to talk about this today. So I'm really excited about it because I was saying to Jumi, and I've been teasing with Beth and Jumi that when I knew we were going to be doing this show, really yesterday, as I knew this was coming up, and that's on me for just having kind of a crazy week, I was like, oh, okay. I said a couple of weeks ago that I wanted to be able to test this tool out beyond what I initially done, which was like just a character talking. It was like a boss baby character talking into the camera. And we can show that one too from about 3 weeks ago. I said, oh, but I really want to do two characters. So not to lead, but that's what I have coming up in the future. But maybe Jumi, maybe kick things off for us and sort of talk a little bit more about why we wanted to, highlight Runway today and what's so different and cool about what they're doing.
So, Runway's been in the generative AI space, particularly video generation, for a while, right? They're one of the first names in the space that we heard of, and their initial offerings were more expansive than just say, hey, let me create a 4-second clip, right? You put in a text prompt, it generates a video of it. Hey, give me a horse, or give me a man in space, that kind of things. What they offered was an entire suite of post-production tools that you could apply various visual effects to, right? So you could apply different filters, or you could, try to manipulate the texture, or, do some of those morphing techniques, remove the background, supply a green screen, those kinds of things. But what we've seen over the last year is they keep on releasing some new thing. And this is not new for generative AI, but they are constantly innovating. So one of the things they introduced early on was the large world model that they were looking for, because they want to be able to teach the AI spatial awareness and things like that, everything that's going on around them, to get better results. And the fruits of that labor have been a couple of really interesting features, right? So after they came out with their Gen 3 alpha model, which was a huge jump in the generative AI video space in terms of quality and consistency, because they were able to use like seed generation and things like that to provide some character consistency. The Gen 3 model allowed them to come out with essentially what is a texture remapping. Combined with their lip syncing technology, they came out with Act 1. And Act 1, like you explained, is being able to overlay essentially a 3D or animated or drawn type of look applied to the performance of the video that the source video that you give it, right? And so we're going to see some examples of it. I know we're teasing everybody. Please hang on just for a little bit more, and we'll get this to you. But the other feature that I was really excited about is they also quietly announced camera moves, right? And so from a filmmaking narrative standpoint, being able to move your camera like it was an object in real space is a huge advantage with storytelling and being able to create more dynamic shots and things like that. they've had camera controls to a certain level for a while, but they weren't allowed. They weren't to the degree that you could adjust them really well. You could use them sort of as a general guideline or prompt injection, basically, for your outputted image. But now, since they, with their Gen 3 Alpha model, or in this case, Alpha Turbo, is you can apply this to a whole 10-second clip. So you wanted your camera to pan left to right, tilt up, orbit around, roll, all of those kinds of things. You can apply that to your generated video. And I'll go into more detail of the niceties of that feature and my takeaway on that a little later. But that's a general overview of where we came with Runway from the very beginning all the way to now.
That's a great summary of it. Runway is, they, and by the way, did they used to go by Runway ML, or does we just call them Runway now?
They are Runway ML. That's their domain. But
Yeah.
Branding wise, they just call themselves Runway.
Runway, right? Okay. Yeah. I was just curious. I thought for our audience too, maybe they were confused on that, because I know sometimes I'm like, do I say Runway ML or is it just Runway? But okay, just Runway. Yeah, they've sort of been like that tool that you go back to and you're like, oh, they always seem to be that one, Jimmy, where you're like, oh, that's cool. Like, oh, I didn't know you, like they were always seemed to me to be like one of the first. And not that other tools aren't doing similar things. We've definitely seen that. Especially with like the stable diffusion models and things like that. But Runway always seems to be at the forefront of what's possible. And I think you're going to show some demonstrations, right, of the camera movement on there. Yeah. And then I'll show some examples of, we can get to those in a second, of just what the Act 1 was, which is like a subset inside Runway. It's a tool within Runway that has some features, and we'll sort of show what you're capable of doing right now with that. And, we can even talk about where we potentially see this going, because it clearly isn't going to stop here. In fact, I'm really excited about where this is going, considering where we are at the end of 2024. But before we do that, because Jimmy and I are the only ones that have been talking so far, Andy, our AI observer, by the way, I noticed your tag there, Andy, and I like AI observer. It's a cool title. And then Carl's here as well. But Andy, maybe give us your feedback real quick, or your initial thoughts about Runway and how you see it being used.
Yeah. So first of all, I'm here more as a learner than a teacher, because I don't do much video. I am a master, however, at taking VHS, shoulder mounted video shots of my ancient children. Anyway, what I was going to say about Runway, though, what's quite impressive about them is they have a very wide range of tools. We're going to demonstrate this character animation from video to video, but with video, live video to animated video feature. But there are a whole host of other things at Runway. If you just go to runwayml.com/product and you look through what they can do, it ranges all the way from just simple static image generation from prompt, text to image, to customization and fine tuning tools. It's really the most complete video editing and video generation suite out there.
Yeah, I think if you're a marketing team and you're creating innovative ads, or you're trying to stand out, or you want to be like the next snarky Wendy's on TikTok or Twitter, which whoever's running that account, people widely give them praise and acclaim for the Wendy's one, because they'll just trash talk other brands. And it's really funny, right? You're like, okay, well, Wendy's is a fast food chain, but they have this whole other personality that's online. Well, if you were, let's say, a smaller company, you're not Wendy's, you don't have that budget, right? But you're a smaller company, and like small, I mean, I'm not talking about $1 million company. I'm just tiny, local business, tiny. And you're trying to stand out on social media. You're trying to have a little bit different approach. Maybe you want an edgier approach. Maybe you're a pet food store, or your pet supply store, and you want to have a talking dog or a talking cat or a talking parrot that keeps repeating the wrong things inside the store. And you want to create this sort of behind the scenes when the lights go down, sort of a la Pets or Toy Story, what happens when nobody's in the store. like there are so many cool ways that you could just create something that's 10, 20, 30 seconds long to gain attention without it really costing you much of anything.
And as a small business, they have a feature called custom styles, which means you train your own AI image and video generator on your style and content. And then it's really simple. You can simply go in, type in what you want it to generate in that sort of, what's the word, the vision board that you've created of all of the styling variations that are permissible in your brand, catalog, if you will. And then you just, generate the images, and you can use those for social media or for advertisement, a wide range of things.
Yeah. Carl, I know, with 0 to 60 AI and what you guys are building, you obviously talk to a lot of clients. This isn't maybe particularly in the realm of what the type of AI work you do, or maybe it is, and I don't know. But, have you had clients that have talked about wanting these types of, whether it's be marketing or just standing out or anything like that? Have you had anybody talk about using Runway tools, or do you have any clients using Runway tools?
Not necessarily Runway tools, more so. There's actually one company that wanted to create kind of their own mid journey. So what they wanted to do was, if you've ever been to a dentist office or medical office and you see these characters, it's for kids, like a giant whale on the top of the administration info section, or like these tiny figures of gnomes and starfishes and animals.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever seen that. So there's a company here in Calgary that creates that, but they do it from scratch every single order. So they wanted to actually create a place where, one, none of the models can train on their images because they've had images for like 2 decades. And 2, but because their designers are having to redraw every single iteration, and like, just like any company, none of their images have ever been a label. Like, there's no metadata to it. You just save it to your drive and go to the next one. So they're looking for, like, hey, could we build something like this? So instead of our designers having to redraw every single one, can they just prompt hippopotamus on a train? It comes up with their type of imagery, and then their designers can finish it off. So I think that's kind of the biggest use case I've seen with something like from a image development perspective. But if you think about it too, and I'm not sure this is specifically for Runway, it's more of like, there are companies out there with tons and tons and tons of images. Like marketing agencies could do it, but other companies too, like renderings, architectural plans, and so on. So wouldn't it be nice to be able to not just so for architects, maybe home builders, or anybody that needs to turn these renderings into like moving picture, something moving, I think this would be an awesome tool to be able to do that. I don't think it can do that necessarily yet, and I don't know if any of you know, do they have an API that you can run through to connect it to something to be able to do that? I don't know if that's available, but I know a lot of
they do have an API.
Okay, so that's the thing, is like, can you fine tune that to recreate these renderings from base to concept over and over and over again? It's something that we've never run into, but there is, I know, an opportunity out there.
Yeah, that would be a great use case. If you could create your own, I mean, you can fine tune your own version of the Runway AI for like your own style, like Andy said. But if you could keep it into your own space, they do have an enterprise level of their plans that does offer a lot of the team and admin capabilities. So yeah, you're right. There's definitely a use case there, and just got to explore a little more into presenting it to them. Well, Runway, if you'd like to hop on a call, we have a possible use case for you. Let us know. DailyAIShow.com.
Hey, I want to welcome Beth. Welcome Beth to the show. I was just saying in the background. By the way, we're using. I think you guys, if you're one of our frequent commenters and visitors of the show live, we've been trying out some other live platforms and stuff. And I saw somebody answering as the Daily Ash Show, and I was like, who else is answering as the Daily Ash Show? And totally didn't see that Beth was in the backstage, in the green room, if you will, secretly running all the Marion and Annette strings in the back or whatever. So I'm glad, Beth, you're able to jump on with us. Actually, I'm really glad you're here, Beth, because you're our comedy expert here. A lot of people know, Beth, that you do improv at night, and I think you even teach a little bit, right? And run some courses and classes and stuff. So, when it comes to yes and helping us all keep the conversation going, or yesterday when we were running into all sorts of technical issues and we were a true comedy improv class, Beth is the one that's leading the charge. So I'm happy you're here because I actually have something to show you. I was telling you about on Slack, but I wanted to wait till live to show it to you.
Yay. Okay. I'm super excited about it. Yeah. Let's see. Because you were talking about whether you were talking about that you had the idea.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen really quick, and I'm going to start here, and we're just going to make sure the audio works and we don't have any issues. So real quick,
Gen AI ain't taking my job.
Are you guys hearing the audio?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we weren't having issues with tabs before I went. This was the original one I did 3 weeks ago. This is like my first attempt. And I was like, I want to kind of make a funny, something about AI, but I want to make it, if anybody has kids in the last 10 years, you might know Boss Baby. Alec Baldwin, I think, did the original Boss Baby movies or whatever, but then they made a cartoon of it. It was always pretty funny. It was one of those ones Amanda and I would catch ourselves watching even when Sophia had long left the room, and we'd be cracking up at Boss Baby. So I wanted to make something similar to this. So this was the first 30-second clip that I made, and then I'll show you what I made yesterday.
Gen AI ain't taking my job, all right? You think some fancy AI is going to replace this? I've been crushing numbers and snacking on goldfish since day one. Nah, my buddies and I at the firm, we're pros. I mean, I could lose my first job before I could say mama. And sure, AI can learn and predict trends, but can it survive a power nap during a conference call? I didn't think so. So no, I'm not sweating the robots. If AI wants to step up, it can talk to my people after snack time. Gen AI.
Okay, so that was my first attempt of it, and I had a lot of fun. And that's just me acting. I'm going to put that in quotes because I'm certainly no actor. But that's me acting into a camera. And the only difference is you'll notice that's not my voice. I used 11 Labs, which I also used in this new version as well. So I used 11 Labs to change my voice into a different character. And that was one of the characters they had. Now, what's cool about that, as I go to show you this other one, is that if you raise your voice, you go into a squeaky voice like that, you can actually affect how that character in 11 Labs picks that up, and you can move some dials around as well to really manipulate that even more. So if you want to get even more squeaky, you can use one of their characters, which is cool because then it doesn't have to always be your voice. You could totally be something different by just slightly altering your voice, going high, going low, whatever you want to do, and being a character, and then throwing an 11 Labs character on top of that, which I thought was really cool. Okay, so where I went from this was a couple weeks ago. I immediately said, my next test here, I even said it in this, my next attempt was going to get 2 people talking to each other. Well, I didn't end up doing 2 babies like I said here, but I did want to see if I could get 2 characters having a conversation. So that's what I did. I'm going to show it to you first, and then we'll talk about it. I'm proud of this. So I'm going to show you guys, share this tab instead, and I'm just going to reload it so it starts from the beginning, and then you guys can tell me what you think.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. So, I've been using AI for work. Totally changed my life.
AI, who's that?
Not who, what.
Okay, so what's its name?
AI is a tool, like Claude.
Who's Claude?
It's not a person, it's AI.
So, who made it?
Anthropic.
Oh, so Claude works for Anthropic.
No, Claude is Anthropic's AI.
Wait, Claude's a guy, but he's also AI?
No, Claude is not a guy. It's a tool.
A tool named Claude? Did he choose that name itself?
No, it didn't choose anything. Anthropic's name is Claude.
All right, fine. What does it do?
It answers questions, it writes things down, it helps you think things through.
Who thinks?
It does.
Who?
Not who, Claude.
You're telling me a machine thinks?
Well, not exactly. It generates answers based on patterns and data.
Oh, so it doesn't think, it knows.
Not really. It doesn't know anything.
Wait, so it doesn't think or know.
Correct.
And this is supposed to be helpful? Okay, so if I ask it a question, it doesn't know the answer, what do I say?
You say it doesn't know.
But it doesn't know anything.
Exactly.
Then why am I asking it questions?
Because it can figure out answers for you.
But it doesn't know them.
No, it predicts what the answers should be.
Oh, great, a magic 8-ball with a keyboard. Let me get this straight. If I tell it to write me an email, what do I say?
You say Claude wrote the email.
But it didn't write it.
Technically, it did.
So it knows how to write.
Not know, it generates text.
Then why don't you just say generate instead of write?
Because that's confusing.
I'm the one that's confused.
Look, it's simple. You ask it to do something, it gives you an answer, and it writes something for you.
But it doesn't know the answer, doesn't write anything, and doesn't think.
Right.
So what does it do?
It helps.
You're telling me a machine doesn't think, doesn't know, doesn't write, but somehow is smarter than me?
Exactly.
I'm gonna go lie down. Wake me up when the toaster starts thinking too.
All right, so that was my Runway project yesterday, and I'm pretty proud of that. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty proud of that. All this
That was pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot, Brian. And props to you for making a call out to who's on first.
Oh,
Great,
yeah.
great format. It's
Yeah,
good.
for
It
sure.
hit.
Yeah,
It hit.
it's pretty amazing how far we've come from the world of graphic arts teams in companies using Photoshop to create a still image, or using a video studio with cameras and actors and so on to do that sort of thing, to Brian, you yesterday created a full person-to-person conversation with clever parody of the who's on first thing, and full video of each of the characters and great voicing. It just amazing what you were able to do.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Beth, I got to get your feedback.
I was cracking up the whole time. You are getting props in the chat. So yeah, I love it. And
how did you get the applause track in there?
So if you want, I will run you very quickly through the process for it. If I can do this pretty quickly. Okay, so initial idea for it. I thought, oh, it'd be funny to do something that's a confusion of AI. And so I took that idea and went to ChatGPT. By the way, ChatGPT's new ability to write, it just had an upgrade to it. Wow, what a difference. It's like Claude level or better. Because what it said is, I said, oh, I have this idea on whose line is it? Whose line is it anyway? Who's on first? From the, like it's the most famous, I don't know, best comedy routine ever from Abbott and Costello, right? So I said, oh, like the whole kind of who's on first, which I've always loved, a lot of people love. And I got to say, from a first draft with ChatGPT, I gave it the whole who's on first transcript and said, I want something like this. It was pretty good right away. But then as I was reading it, I was like, oh, it'd be funnier if it's Claude, because Claude's an actual name, and that's actually more confusing. So then I worked with it a little bit. I massaged it a little bit, honestly. And then I had sort of this final thing. So to quickly get through the process without making this a 30-minute dissertation, what I did basically is I had a script, and then I broke that script up into what person one, speaker two. And then I recorded myself looking like this, and then I just mirrored it. So the other person was looking this way. So Abbott's looking this way and Costello's looking this way, or the characters on there. And I just flipped myself so that I could read off of my other screen. And then I just recorded myself reading the lines of speaker one after the other, after the other, after the other. So I could actually show you the initial video of me just saying the lines one after the other of just one of the speakers. So then I added in a little bit at the end there to answer your question, Andy. I just went and found some free laugh tracks. And then what I did was I went to Fall to Flux and I went ahead and created some characters on there. And interesting enough, I ran into issues there because as I was creating really good Pixar style Abbott and Costello type characters, all their noses were more like clown noses, where it's just a big red bubble, right? And Runway does not recognize a face if it's a big round bubble on the middle of the face. So I had to keep iterating and iterating with Flux 1.1 Ultra to say, no, I need a real nose. I kept saying, like, I need a more accurate nose. I need it, you know. So the characters that you see finally have that long nose, but finally, after about 15 attempts, Runway Act 1 said, oh, I recognize the face, and then I was off to the races. And then it was a whole process after that I would certainly make more efficient. But essentially what it was I went and took those initial videos, went to 11 Labs, changed my voice, then got that audio clip, went into Canva, muted my original voice and synced it up to the character voice, right? Downloaded that as an MP3. Then those full videos of me saying all the lines went into Runway, but you had to split them up into 30-second clips. So there was 8 total clips to make this 2.5 minute comedy routine. So 8 total clips went into Runway. They all come out of Runway, and essentially I put them into DaVinci Resolve. And then I realized very quickly one of my fatal errors, that the reason why it quickly goes to a 2 camera, or a zoom in shot, is not because I wanted to do that. I wanted them to be standing next to each other like Abbott and Costello. But the fatal flaw here was I didn't just record myself with the breaks of the other character talking. Number one, that would have been more expensive. But what needs to happen is you're telling me AI, and then just, but what do you mean? Right? There's got to be, so that those videos didn't exist. So if you put them in DaVinci Resolve, what ends up happening is talking blank space, talking blank space, talking. And I was like, oh my God, because I wanted them to be next to each other having this comedy routine. So I had to zoom in and go to the 2 shot or not 2 shot, but the zoom in back and forth, because that was otherwise it would have looked ridiculous, right? So anyway, that's how it did. And at the very end, Andy, I ended some fun laugh tracks at the end of that to just kind of bring the whole thing together and make it sound like that sort of who's on first type comedy routine at the beginning. So
it sounds like most of the time that it took was, assembling all the pieces and then editing them into the final piece. Like that edit process of clipping them together, that sounds like it's beyond my ability for sure.
It went faster. I will tell you, I didn't even have DaVinci Resolve downloaded on my computer. I had not used DaVinci Resolve. So if you factor in the total process yesterday was less than 3 hours. But I will tell you, that was with messing up. That was with going, oh, whoops, that doesn't work. Finding new characters and learning about the nose thing. It was going to find the stupid laugh tracks. That wasn't a big deal. It was going to DaVinci Resolve and quite literally having to do a new Google search to say, how do I export? How do I zoom in? How do I? So like I had to learn all that stuff from scratch, but thank God there's YouTube and all the, resources for that. So obviously now knowing what I know, what I would have done, Andy, is make a shorter one, like 2 minutes is long. I would have done a total 30-second clip of 2 characters talking to each other. And it would have been a much shorter conversation, like a single joke or something like that. And I would have just kept recording to the breaks. And I think the way I would have done that is put an earpiece in so I could hear the full track, so I could respond, because Runway wouldn't have picked up a small ear pod. And so then I would have been able to hear the other character feeding me the line to respond, and then wait appropriately till it was my turn to talk again. Then do that for both characters or 3 characters or whatever you're going to do. That would definitely have worked much faster, because then you're putting literally 1 video into Runway and editing it one time and then just splicing them together. By the way, Canva will let you remove a background from a video. Most people don't realize Canva's video editors have gotten better with their AI. I didn't know that. 2 minutes is too long to do that. It would have taken for a while to render. But just imagine I have these 2 characters with the same background on them. I could have had 3 characters on that stage, remove the backgrounds from any of them and position them anywhere I wanted to on the stage so that they were looking at each other or whatever. And if I just recorded that with all the reactions in it, with somebody not saying anything, but like raising their eyebrows at what the other person was saying, it would have had a more streamlined total effect, and I would have been able to keep all 3 characters in the scene at the same time.
Can you make the distinction among DaVinci Resolve, Runway, and Canva? What each one of those contributed to that project?
Yeah, I think Canva could have been eliminated by just doing it in DaVinci Resolve, but I had started in DaVinci Resolve thinking I could layer two video tracks on top of each other, and then quickly realized you could just do 1 video track. You can overlay 2 video tracks and remove the background, so that would have worked, but you could only do 1 video track and 1 audio track. So truthfully, Canva was sorry, it's so loud if you guys can hear, I apologize. It's blowing leaves or whatever outside the house. But that I started it in Canva and did that. I could have, once I realized that tool wasn't going to work, that's what forced me to have to download and use DaVinci Resolve and try to find a workaround. Or I was going to go to Adobe Premiere, which I used to use all the time, but just got expensive. So then Runway obviously is the actual conversion of me talking. Well, let's just pull that up really quick. Of where's the tab? Well, I'll just go here and then bop over to it. So here you go. So you can see.
Well, not exactly. It generates answers based on patterns and data.
So that's the type of video that went into Runway. You could tell it's already got the 11 Labs voice change on it, which means I had done it in Canva and edited it back down to an MP4 that didn't have my original voice. It muted out my original voice. And that I just synced up in Canva. You can actually see that here.
Then why don't you just say generate?
But if I go here and bring the audio back in, right?
Confused. But it doesn't know the answer, doesn't write anything, and doesn't think.
So that's not as synced up. It got moved or something like that, but you can kind of get a feel for how those things got synced up in Canva. And then you're bringing it back over here. And then if you go to this one, that clip that I just showed you in Runway comes out like this.
It does. Not who, Claude. Well, not exactly. It generates answers based on patterns and data. Not really. It doesn't know anything.
So there's all the clips running in order. And then that's what I had to take into, can I share a whole, let's see. Can I share a whole window?
Yeah, you can share an entire application.
Yunmi's nodding. Yes, share.
And then this is what it ended up looking like inside of DaVinci Resolve. Going through all the clips that are split up with the audio track here at the bottom. And then it just runs all the way through, split up. And as you can see, I had to zoom in there because, like I said, if you zoom, look, that's what it really is supposed to look like. And they're supposed to be side by side. But that was the part I ran into, because as soon as he stops talking, then there would just be him standing there doing, like, it would just be black. You could see all the spaces that don't have video in them. I tried it really quickly, and then I'll just stop talking here because I don't want to take too much time with this. I tried it really quickly to just see if I could put a static photo in there, but then it looked ridiculous because then, like, they stop talking and then they go, and then they go to talk again, and I was like, that doesn't look good. So then we'll just go to the 2-shot and be done with it. So anyway, that was my process. Less than 3 hours. If I did it again tonight, it would be like an hour and a half. I think I could legit shave off an entire half of the time by just knowing what the hell I was doing and knowing what, like, the end result needs to look like. So then changing how I did my original video going into Runway. But hopefully this shows people, like, oh, and by the way, what does this cost? This total thing, because it's over 2 minutes, was probably about $20. Not cheap. But if you consider what you know you can do, and you can move, that's a 2.5-minute video, way longer than you're going to probably make a quick viral YouTube clip if you're going to do a 30-second commercial at best. So consider that price to probably be, if you know what you're doing, less than $8 to put out a completely original, you own everything, animated whatever for your business. And tell me $8 is not in the budget of any small business that's looking to stand out on social media. you just saw me. You have literally every tool. DaVinci Resolve is free. So you already have everything you need there to do all the editing if you wanted to, or you just cut down on all of that. And like I said, you streamline the process and you don't do the 11 labs and all that stuff to it as well.
That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. I did catch myself. I was about to go film nerd because I've already got suggestions on how you can merge the two and layer them so that you can have that conversation. But
I was like,
you can do this.
I did it with a layer mask, and that works because you could see I purposely made the curtains so that there was lines and I could blend them. But of course, the layer mask only just makes it so the rest of the background disappears, right? So it didn't solve my other problem, but it did layer mask them. I could have done that in DaVinci or whatever. But go ahead, Jimmy, because look, this isn't the only thing. I didn't want to take up that much time on it. This is just like super fun for me. But I know they do the camera.
I think it's a great example of Act 1 as well, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially what this episode's on. And it's a complete process, right? It's not just showing, oh, hey, here's the source material and we made, this is what output. It shows what the complete process from start to finish of what you could do to make a video using Act 1 as a centerpiece, right? And you also brought in some 11 labs, so that was a great example as well. But my biggest takeaway about this is it is the perfect example of how AI in this space is lowering barriers, right? You went from 0 to hero in 3 hours just using the available tools. And I know you've done some some video work in the past, but essentially you're just coming in clean, right? For the most part, just coming in clean. And that's what I love the most about this is that it is pretty much anybody. If you had any fear of like, oh, it's going to be too hard, it's going to take too long to learn or whatnot, 3 hours, 2.5 minute comedy clip. Use ChatGPT, Runway, Canva, 11 Labs, and DaVinci, and merged all those together and got yourself a funny and definitely at least a decent, great, internet video, right? We're not talking Oscar film here, but
I'm not gonna win anything.
right, exactly. and it hit. It was great. All the beats hit. You added the laugh tracks at the right time because that's when I was laughing, right? So yeah, I think the overall process is a great example of that lowering of the barrier. We want more people to flex their creative muscle, use these tools so that they can expand, not only their own experience, but adding more to the collective creative.
Jeff says, if this is what Brian could do, imagine what Beth can do. Yeah, Jeff,
absolutely, Jeff. Absolutely.
I'm not even mad at that comment at all. Beth is way funnier than I am, and she's also like a whiz when it comes to like Mid-Journey and creating stuff. So yeah, if Beth put her mind to this, in fact, I was talking to Beth on the Slack channel behind this, and I was like, Beth, you and I need to create more of these videos and do this kind of stuff for the AI show. By the way, we'll put this up on the Daily AI Show. Or I'll give it to Jimmy and put it up, but it'll go up as a short. That's what I was just sharing it as. So it can go out on our socials and stuff like that, so other people can see it.
This is also a really great example of thinking and planning for the future that's coming. So Brian and I started to have that conversation, I would say 4 months ago. Right? There's room in the space for comedy because there's lots of other stuff that people are communicating about. And when you have things that are, when you have a scenario that is fast moving and overwhelming, comedy is like not only like right, it's not only ripe for comedy. Comedy is necessary in that space to have a way for people to get the catharsis of like, oh yeah, no, it's okay, we can laugh at this. This is all kinds of things, but it's also really important to be able to play with it because that gives people more room to engage with it. And Yeah, I mean, this is a great example of how fast the space is moving and why you should imagine what you want to do in the future, because the future is maybe next week.
And this is talking heads. And as Jimmy's going to show really quick with moving cameras, imagine adding moving cameras, and then imagine also adding like hand gestures along with the talking heads. Because if you watch Who's On First, you know, you see Costello and he's like, that's what I'm trying to ask, you know, and he's like, he gets so frustrated. He knocks his hat off like 5 times or whatever. Right. Yeah. He's just like, you're killing me, you know, straight to the moon, you know, right. That kind of thing. And you can't do that right now with Act One, but come on. I mean, you can see where this is going. So we're going to go from talking head and, you know, chest, and you can even see with the Boss Baby, the hands move a little bit. That wasn't because my hands were moving. That was actually animated by Act One. I did nothing, but because the hands were on the high chair, Act One added that as a like, and it could have made the hands static, but you see the hands kind of bouncing a little bit, gives a little bit of gravity to it. If that's what it's doing today, you know, hey, what can I do tomorrow? And I'll just say, like, my friends, I have good friends, I've said this before, who are professional animators at Pixar. I'm not taking their jobs. I'm talking about, like, I'm not trying to make a feature-length film. I'm trying to take a funny idea that's funny today. So many things are funny today and aren't as funny maybe a week ago because they're like in the news or whatever, and having the ability to capitalize on that fast. Imagine being at a business, any business, and going, you know, it would be hilarious because it just happened yesterday. And somebody in the room going, I think I can turn that into a 20-second bit by tomorrow and it can go live. That's amazing. That's amazing. So I'm not taking anybody's professional job here. I'm fully aware of what my abilities are. But dude, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Like, I don't have any special skills here. Anybody can literally do what I just did, which is super cool, I think. You know? All right, Jimmy, take it away.
Okay. We're going to shift gears a little bit and go from the high quality, awesome animated style of Act One to I just grabbed an image of a horse off of the internet and I decided to make my camera move around it. Okay, so let me go and pull that up here real quick. And so what we're talking about here is, well, let's see here. This is not what I wanted to do. Okay. Yay, live tech demo, right? Okay, let me pull this up. And
That made me think of Beth yesterday. We're just gonna punt.
I know. What's going on? What's going on?
I just want a T-shirt that says the Day the AI Show. You know what? We're just gonna punt.
Yep. We're just gonna punt. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. Okay. Let me see if nope. This is totally not going to. Wow. You know, I'm kind of a little disappointed that I'm not able to share other applications. I have to use everything from Chrome. You know, that seems a little locking me into to Google there. I don't know if anyone else.
Are you going to be able to pull it up in Chrome? Because
we can. Do you want? I can pull something up if you want.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and do that because this is going to take a lot longer than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's try that. That's the one. Okay. So this is kind of a test thing that we were doing for one of the luxury companies that we were planning to work with. So this isn't any of their vehicles. This is like a Lucid Air, and just something like, you know, what you can do is you can really move this around. So in this case, client wanted, hey, let's move. Can we do like orbit shots and different kind of shots to showcase the said vehicle? And we're like, okay, yeah, we can definitely work with that. So I just, right when Brian was talking and Junior was talking, I just did a couple of these. So as you can see, it does a good job, except for here, which is terrible. So it goes back to front. It's a weird. What you can actually do is if you put an end image, it works so much better. So if you have a start image and an end image, and you do the motion to that end image, it's more clean than it's actually generating each frame. So something like this one is a little bit better. If you want, I don't think that's exactly the back of what the back looks like, but it's very close. So, and then you can do this for anything, right? You can like make it all sorts of crazy angles and it's slow here, but what you do is then you take it, for me, I'm a Final Cut person, so I take it to Final Cut and then, speed up, get some smooth points to it, do a little bit more work on it, change, get some color grading, add some sound, and then, yeah, you can technically make a car commercial yourself in less than, it's actually even faster because if you wanted to put a voiceover, you could, and then you put a couple of different shots together, like this, maybe an overhead shot, a car driving. You can definitely make a commercial using this and the combo of tools that we heard about today.
And
Carl,
don't forget about adding the 90s rock music, because that's the demographic right now, right? So you always, for a car commercial, you always want to know who they're trying to sell it to. Just listen to the music. That'll give you that. But this is a great example of each of these camera controls, right? And that's how Runway refers to it, is these camera controls. Their help center does have a nice breakdown and examples of each of these camera controls and what the -10 to +10 is going to achieve for you. But the biggest thing that I like is, so you notice the prompt here that Carl is showing, and it's got these purple brackets. These are all based upon the presets that you'll see at the bottom there, and just above the generate button, like close up, orbit right, and those kinds of things. If you open up the settings button on the bottom left, it will bring up all of, or you're in an extend mode, so we'd have to go back, but it would bring up all of these presets, and all of those presets have the prompts that they found to be effective. So if you don't know where you want to start, just look at the presets, and the presets will also show you the entire prompt, so you can learn what are the triggers and results that you're kind of looking for. And where that purple text is your fill in the blank. I mean, it literally is ad libs for prompting, right? What's the subject? The car. What's the place you want to go to? Down the street. And you just fill those in, and you'll get their tested or reliable results from it. And like Carl said, when you apply the various camera movements, what I've discovered when I was working on my example is, it is better to test out each of the camera moves before you ask Runway to try and do multiple ones. You will go through a lot more credits if you try to apply 3 or 4 camera moves and their descriptions all at once. So just a warning. The Gen Alpha Turbo, while more token efficient or credit efficient, it's still about $1 a render for 10 seconds. So like Brian said, not cheap, but if you're looking to generate a car commercial, that's incredibly cheaper.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like relative, right? Not cheap compared to what? Not cheap if you just want to screw around and make some videos.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, then have a budget and screw around. Everybody should have a hobby. Like we all put money into hobbies. So like, not cheap maybe in that sense. For a business, this is insane. It's insane, the value that you're getting out of it. I don't care if it costs $30 to render one of these. If it's getting you what you want, and it's putting this, like, look at what Carl's doing here. It's putting out this kind of renders and making it easy on you. And one person is able to effectively do this. Not a team. One person is able to do this. So what are you paying that one person per hour for their expertise, plus whatever you're paying for this? Tell me you're not coming out on top.
Well, Brian, remember
I'll get off
I
my
think
high
we all talked about Ben Affleck and what he was talking about, and
Yeah.
I remember one thing that stood out was like, I would not want to be VFX guys because that is just lower. Like you don't need 1,000 people to render, right? Like anybody can
4,000
now.
computers.
Yeah, you can do a lot more. I'm just sorry. I'm just thinking about like when imagine like your 100 agents being able to like, hey, I want a car commercial that can rotate and zoom. Imagine you have one agent doing this. You have another agent doing exactly what Brian just did in terms of that. And then you have another agent doing like that. To me is like bringing it all together. So you have like one, and then you have a commercial and it's all by one person or one person orchestrating 7, 8 different agents to create this thing.
And even up the funnel from there, Carl, is an agent going through all of social media and live scraping data to find out what's funny and viral going right now, and just automatically creating. So when you come in the morning, imagine coming in at 8 o'clock and having a staff meeting and saying, all right, let's see what it put together for us as a draft right now. And you watch 5 30-second pretty well done videos that need a little human intervention to just really refine and get to where you wanted to. But the agent's just like, hey, cool. Like, this is what we pulled in and thought was funny. We, meaning the agents, right? The AI. And like, I don't know, do you want to use any of these, one of these, whatever? And then you're like, yeah, go ahead and move forward with the final rendering and tweaking or whatever. And then it's off to the races with that. I mean,
right.
come on.
Because you can have an agent that storyboards things now for very little money, right? And then now you have your storyboard that is potentially your first image and your last image, right? And so then what you're animating and doing the camera movements is between that. I also want to say, because of the money conversation, there is an unlimited level that is $100 for the month. And that, right, like, let's just put that in how much you would pay for a class. Right? Like, it's not all fast hours, right? So you're going to come up with some ideas, you're going to render some stuff, you're going to come back in 20 minutes, but just imagine for $100 you can learn this, right? Like, go and let your interns or your marketing department just play. Yeah, June.
Here's one more idea for that real quick on Beth. Let's say you want to like break out and start a little side business to it. I'll give you a secret of how like I could do this locally. I love helping small businesses because I also often feel like small businesses don't have the budget for big cool things. When I was a small business owner, I always had people pitching me on stuff I couldn't afford, and I was always saying that sounds amazing, but there's no way I can afford that. You know, I was like doing my best to keep the lights on, like a lot of small businesses. So here's an idea right here. Pay the $100, go find 5 businesses, or just like go to a niche like restaurants or whatever, and then go ahead and create something for them. You have unlimited credits. Create something for them that you think would be cool to them. Like people used to create websites that were better than whatever their splash, 101 website they used to have. And they used to just go to the company and go, hey, I created you a better website. Do you want it? And somebody's already looking at the thing that they're going to buy. It doesn't take you very long. Once you get super like familiar and efficient at this process, you're probably banging out new ideas for small businesses left and right. The cost on your end is minimal, but what may come out of the other end is that business goes, yeah, I'll buy that for $100. Boom, you just paid for your whole month. So
yeah, guys, I gotta go. I'm gonna go learn Runway ML and DaVinci Resolve here quickly.
That's a good idea, right?
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah, I would not to take up too much time because we're definitely over, I think. But iteration, you can. Okay, so we'll take the car commercial example. How many car commercials have you seen? The car just driving down city streets, right? Obviously closed sets, city streets with people walking by, and it's just following the car. That's all it is. Now, with things like we've seen in Wondershare, where you can just put your own models over performances, that means everything becomes, and then with also, I believe it was Meta's SAM, where you can identify objects, right, in video. So we want this city to look like New York. We want this city to look like Toronto. We want this city to look like LA. just replace the building so that the neighborhoods look like that. We want this for a truck. We want this for a car. We want this for, you know, a sports car. Just replace the performance of the car. And, you know, and we want it to go left instead of right. You know, all those kinds of things can be iterated on. All of those things are just identifiable objects. And so if you want to iterate on the look, like based on, you know, that example that your agents provided you, you could have 3, 4, 10 different car commercials, your entire line for 2025 or 2026. And just, you know, like a rock, you know, just and all those kinds of things.
Or if it's so cheap, A/B split test it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. All of your various social channels, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we definitely have to wrap this up because like we were fast. I think we already are at our longest show. So we're going to wrap this up before we hit the 1 hour mark, but this was super fun. Thanks for hanging out with us. You know, look, if anything, I hope you're excited. If you're a creative person, and you're excited about it, if you have a small business, even if you work for a large business, this might be something you can go in and play with and see what you can do. And I think it can have immediate impact exactly where it is today. We're not talking about, oh, you need some future tech for this to really work for you. No, it literally will work for you between doing the camera shot pans and movements or using the Act 1 side of it or any of the other Runway tools. You should be able to rock and roll with this like literally today and deploy something tomorrow if you so desired. I did. So you're certainly capable of it. Okay, I'm going to ask this as a little behind the scenes thing, but Jimmy or Beth, how do I do the outro on this? One of you guys want to do it? So I hit the video?
Yeah, we'll just end the stream there. Aloha.
Okay.